It's well known that the idols can wave at you if you zoom in on them in the plaza. But did you know that Splatoon 3 specifically has 6 different animations? Let's go from least interesting and work our way up. Normally, the Squid Sisters will wave at you with this animation. Then when you beat Alterna, you get this animation instead. This criteria also applies to Deep Cut. Here's how they'll wave normally. And here's how they'll wave after beating Alterna. This is because both groups were a part of Alterna, so they know this cephalopod personally. Here's the interesting part though. Off the Hook wasn't a part of Alterna, but they have a second animation too. Here's how Off the Hook will wave to you normally. Now, only as an Octoling, and only after you cleared Agent 8's palette in side order, Pearl and Marina will do this animation. Which contradicts some established lore, kinda. See, this animation was also in Splatoon 2 when as an Octoling, and in that case, it makes sense. Canonically, Splatoon 2's Inkling is Agent 4, and the Octoling is Agent 8. This is why, regardless of the species you enter Octo Canyon or the Deep Sea Metro, you will swap to the correct species if you currently aren't already, and it will use the last saved Inkling or Octoling design you had. So why does Off the Hook have this animation in Splatoon 3? This implies that the Octoling is Agent 8, but that's straight up wrong. The only time you are actually playing as Agent 8 is in side order. Regardless of species, you are always walking around the plaza as the new Agent 3. I get this is meant to be a sneaky Easter egg, especially if you get the reference, but I hope you understand why I think this is confusing. Well, that one took a while. Let's move on to a somewhat quick one. Deep Cut is the only idol group to not have a credit song. Now, your instincts might have told you, what about Daybreaker Anthem? To that, I say that is not a credit song. Yeah, it has the general vibe of a credit song, but it never plays in the credits. It only plays during the 2-hour period before the results go live for Splatfest. Now, at the time of recording this, Splatoon Raiders isn't out yet, and I have a good suspicion that they will get a credit song in that game. And if they do, I'll be sure to mention it in a future Useless Idol Facts video.
Moving on, Marina. She's the only idol to support a team that was not originally her own. In Splatoon 2, there was a Japanese-exclusive Splatfest tournament involving Sanrio characters, or Hello Kitty if you didn't know Hello Kitty is Sanrio. Just like the Ninja Turtle tournament we had in the States and also Europe, the winners of the first 2 rounds would move on to a final Splatfest round. In round 1, Pearl chose Hello Kitty, and Marina chose Cinnamoroll, and in the fest, Hello Kitty won by taking both solo and team wins. Yeah, this was before the COT system. In round 2, Pearl chose My Melody, and Marina chose Pom Pom Purin. In the results, My Melody won also by winning both solo and team wins. Yeah, neither of the popular teams won. And since Hello Kitty and My Melody were both originally teams Pearl chose, that means the final round would be Pearl's team versus Pearl's team, but we can't have that. So for the final round, Pearl returned to Hello Kitty, and Marina chose My Melody. Marina actually acknowledges this, sort of. I say sort of because she says she'll have to think hard about what team to choose, but she doesn't make a big deal about this, which is surprising knowing how she reacted in the results for Fork versus Spoon. To end this round of facts off, how about a continuation to an old fact? In the last Idol Facts video, I calculated how many unique Splatfest performances there were in Splatoon 3. That got me thinking how many performances there were in the previous games. But first, I have to set some guidelines I didn't really need to do for Splatoon 3. First, regional Splatfest count. It's not fair to rule these out, since they are still Splatfests that happened in the game. Just because your region didn't get them, doesn't mean they aren't Splatfests. I didn't have to address this for Splatoon 3, since there were only 3 themes that happened in Japan only. But apparently people don't count those Splatfests when it comes to each Deep Cut member's winning status. Second, if a theme or design has been reused later on, it counts as well. This mostly applies to the rerun Splatfests Splatoon 2 has in 2020 to 2021, but this also applies to Splatoon 1 as well. There are 2 instances of a theme being repeated later on in Splatoon 1, Cats vs. Dogs, and Red Kitsune Udon vs. Green Tanuki Soba. Let's start with the latter since it's easier to cover. Red Kitsune Udon vs. Green Tanuki Soba first happened in July 2015, but the theme would get a rematch the following December. Simple to understand. Cats vs. Dogs originally happened in July 2015 in America. It would then get a rematch in Europe in October 2015. One more thing that I really shouldn't have to bring up. If 2 different regions have the same theme, but the game technically counts them as separate fests, they will be counted as one fest. Stuff like the original Mayo vs. Ketchup in Splatoon 2, and Pokémon Red vs. Pokémon Blue in Splatoon 1. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's finally get into the math. Splatoon 1 had 16 Splatfests in each region, so we can start with a base number of 48. Now we can remove themes that were shared by regions. Fancy Party vs. Costume Party was worldwide, so it's taking up 3 spots. Let's subtract 2. Same with Callie vs. Marie, so let's just remove those extra 2 spots as well. There were also 2 themes that were shared by only North America and Europe, that being Pokémon Red vs. Pokémon Blue and SpongeBob vs. Patrick. Let's remove 2 more spots. That gives us 42 unique themes that follow the guidelines from earlier. Callie and Marie perform City of Color on separate trucks like they do in Splatoon 3, so we have to multiply the number by 2. We end up with 84 unique Splatfest performances for Splatoon 1. Thankfully, Splatoon 2 is a lot easier, as the shared themes were more frequent. One thing I have to point out is that the World Splatfest premiere will also count for this. In Japan, there were 18 exclusive themes. In North America and Europe, there were 8 unique themes each, with the 2 regions sharing an additional 10 themes. And then, there were 13 themes that were worldwide. That adds up to 57. And since Pearl and Marina can be seen on screen at the same time, no need for additional multiplication. You thought I was done? Oh no, that was only for the Splatfest performances from those games. These games have some extra idol performances we can include. Splatoon 1 obviously has the amiibo functionality, which lets players watch the Squid Sisters perform City of Color, Ink Me Up, Now or Never, Calamari Incantation, Maritime Memory, and the 2 solo songs, Bomb Rush Blush and Tide Goes Out. Since this feature reuses assets from Callie vs. Marie, we can remove City of Color from this calculation. Callie and Marie still perform on separate trucks, meaning we're left with 5 songs times 2 idols, or 10 additional performances, making for a total of 94. Now how can Splatoon 2 have additional performances? That game never got the same amiibo functionality. Well, it all lies on the final boss of Octo Canyon. During Phase 1 and 2, Callie performs Bomb Rush Blush, but with a different choreography designed to match her brainwashed persona. Then, when Marie shows up, the song changes to Tidal Rush. Callie does the same choreography as before. Meanwhile, Marie does the Tide Goes Out choreography. 'Cause, she's singing Tide Goes Out. Then on the final phase, when Callie regains her senses, the two perform Spicy Calamari Incantation, which of course uses the iconic dance we all know and love. You can make the argument that these don't count since they aren't part of a Splatfest, but are instead from a single-player campaign. But remember, I said idol performances, not Splatfest, so these 100% count. I mean, you can clearly see them dancing in the game, which is no different from every other instance of an idol performance. Since the Tidal Rush portion shows the two on separate machines, that gives us 4 additional performances, and when added to the 57 from before, we get our total of 61 idol performances.